Welcome back, everyone. We are ready to bring you the beginning of solo matches here for Preseason 2 of KDL. My name is William Cho, of course, joined by Peter. We're bringing you the opening day, and I'm pretty excited here for solo matches.
Solo matches are a great way to change the flavor of what's on your dinner plate. We've had the team matches, and now, of course, because it's the first time we're doing this in Preseason 2, we have to go over the overview.
Yeah, of course, it starts with a round of 32, and just for the sake of efficiency, in the round of 32, it's a little brutal, but the bottom four of each group will be eliminated. Only the top four survive, but once you move on into the round of 16, it kind of works similar to a double elimination bracket. If you're top four, you get to the winner's match, which can instantly seed you into the final 8. But if not, you will be dropping down to the lower bracket, so to speak. And we have, a couple different tracks here for solo matches. It's not identical to speed mode and team. And notably, WKC Korea Circuit enters here for solo matches.
Korea Circuit is only available in the solo match, so it would be really exciting to get to see that. But it's the players who are choosing, so I don't really expect to see it too much because a player would have had to practice the Korea Circuit track more so than the other ones that they feel so confident in.
Yeah, we'll have to see how things change up here. Of course, the winner of each track then gets the advantage of selecting the next track that they want to race on. And we take a look at the overall round of 32. I mean, notably Group A, you've got 3 members that were in the final 8 of Preseason 1, including the winner in Cool, the runner-up in NEAL, and then World alongside them. But every group, I mean, there's some good reasons to watch. And I hate to keep bringing the focus there, but we're finally getting to see Jung in solo matches from ROX Esports, and you'll have to wait until the 25th to watch him in Group B.
We can tell you're a big fan of Jung. The story has been there for him, and he has been delivering every single time, so it's no surprise there. And he's all the way in the furthest group, so people will have to watch, but we do have some really delightful players like NEAL who are performing today. You have to wonder what builds has he prepared for new tracks like the Korean Circuit. Yeah,
of course. And then in Group B, Ho-Jun, of course, kind of the legend, the king of Kart Rider. He does get to go up against one of his disciples that he coached back in the original Kart Rider and Hero, so there's some good storylines there as well. So overall, every group should be quite exciting, but we are bringing you the first 8 of the round of 32 today. It's Group A.
Yeah, we're going to start off with player Vanilla all the way on the left, and I feel like Vanilla hasn't really made a huge name for himself in Preseason 1, so hopefully here in Preseason 2 he's able to deliver.
Yeah, and of course, talking about the colors that their stripes will represent, it is going to be yellow, oftentimes representing the first seed of each group. So Vanilla just saying, you know what, I will do yellow justice here, represent that yellow uniform, the yellow characters, the yellow stripes here for the solo match races.
And Vanilla isn't on any team this season, so he really wants to perform here as we see another player, Hong, a new face that we haven't seen last season. He's saying Acid Fly, Suit and Lens, you did a great job because he's close friends with them. There's a lot of connections and community in Kart Rider.
Yeah, and here's the thing, Hong's one of those players that finished his military service and he's now returning to continue his career here in Kart Rider Drift League. See if he can be able to keep that up. I mean, we saw Kosu do that in Preseason 1. He had a pretty decent showing.
But NEAL, we know this guy. He's the guy we always look at for the NEAL builds with his puppy. There's a nice story behind that as well, why he brings it to his matches. And he's saying, nice to see you all again, and it's nice to see you too, NEAL.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, NEAL, he's just such a good-hearted guy on stage, but he also has some sick genius builds, great racing, obviously technique. So see what he shows us here in solo matches. Meanwhile, on the other side, we got UMaRu, and just a little shout out to everyone that's supporting him. You love to see it, and it's his first time here in KDL, so see what he can do.
And he's shouting out his family, mom, dad, Hyung, and all the CUBE members. I love you all.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty emotional moment for him because he's always tried for the prelims, even in Kart Rider League. He never made it to the stage, and now it's his first time now in Preseason 2 of KDL, so I'm sure he just wants to try to extend the time that he gets to spend on stage.
It makes you want to cheer for this guy and hope that he at least moves up to the best of 16. But of course, our next player here is Cool, the man himself. He is the winner of Season 1's solo match, and he's looking to continue that championship.
It's funny that he says it's spelled cool and reads as cool, like literally phonetically, that's how it would say it in a dictionary. But yeah, basically he's changed the name to actually say cool. It used to say ZZZ, and the sound you make for snoring in Korea is cool, so that's why it was cool. But anyway, now it's uniform. We all know what his name is.
we no longer need to guess what the real name of the players are, as we see VEGA saying, I didn't expect to see you here. I wonder what that's about.
Yeah, I mean, VEGA, right? He wasn't here in solos for the preseason 1, so it's his first time here in preseason 2. Also, notably, he is currently on the bench for ROX Esports, but he still has a chance to prove himself, has a chance to shine in solo matches. I'm sure he's just as desperate as anybody to try to continue on here in solos.
As we get to see a fan for Duzzi saying, Duzzi can do it. The man shows up himself saying, best and summer, I will do my best for you guys. We love the sense of friendship between the pro players.
Yeah, I mean, again, a pretty tight-knit community within the kart rider kind of universe here in Korea. Of course, we continue to see some new faces show up and try to challenge, but, you know, you're all going through similar training regimens and things like that. And then another member here, you know, who was part of the Final 8 in Preseason 1, NEAL, Cool, and World. He's trying to make sure everyone, you know, remembers that he was still part of that Final 8.
Yeah, he's definitely not afraid to show everyone that he is a player, as it's able to measure up against the caliber of players like NEAL, who've had such a great success so far, as well as Cool, who recently won that title. And it's no surprise because World has been doing so good ever since we came over to Kart Rider Drift.
All right, well, we will be kicking things off on track number 1. Looks like we'll be going with a tough one to start with. It's going to be Desert Construction Chaos in Group A of solo matches. All right, we kick things off in solo matches here. Group A of the round of 32 for Preseason 2.
And now we're seeing NEAL leading the pack right now, and we know NEAL, when he's in the lead, sometimes he just never lets it go. So Cool is trying to keep him checked, but those two are kind of off in their own world.
Yeah, I mean, again, they were the first and second place of Preseason 1, so no big surprise. We'll have to keep on our eye. The real question for me is, I don't think it's going to be surprising if Cool, NEAL, and World, you know, move on. They should be moving on to the top 4. Right. But who takes that 4th spot to stay alive into the round of 16?
Well, we can definitely look at players like Vanilla and Duzzi for being names we recognize from Preseason 1, but Hong and UMaRu, these players, they have the limitless potential that we don't know what they can show in Kart Rider Drift yet. And we're seeing VEGA actually up in that top 4, gonna drop down, however.
Oh yeah, tried to just cut ahead as everyone slows down and then block them to try to get through those 90 degrees. He actually ends up having to make way and bump into the corners a bit and is going to fall behind all the way down to 5th place. Meanwhile, NEAL and Cool, they're still staying way up front.
And it's Vanilla right now trying to get that 4th place position to be making sure that he's going to be the one to move forward. VEGA, he's the only one close enough to really contest Vanilla right now. But as you can see in the minimap, 1, 2, 3 is not going to get contested anytime soon by the other players.
Yep, they are all just in their own competition right now. And really, between these guys, it's really about how fast can we finish this race. Who's going to reach that 50 points first to just close out the round of 32. VEGA does make it back up to the top 4. And if he can continue to do that, he will be moving on to the round of 16 as we go through all these tracks today.
VEGA has been pretty consistently up here, but last time he was weaving through these obstacles, the tricky paths, he did get set behind. Hopefully he's looking to not allow that to happen this time because Vanilla is looking to catch up.
Yeah, meanwhile, World and Cool, a little bit of friendly rivalry, and NEAL just trying to stay in 3rd place at the very least. Cool, he wants to get 1st place. He wants to prove that he was the winner of Preseason 1. World not letting any room show up. He does block Cool at the end as well, and World will be getting the first 10 points and the first chance to choose the next track.
Near the end there, it got so close between NEAL and VEGA. NEAL was actually losing his spot in 3rd place, but he was able to close it off in the end, securing that. So on the bottom, we're seeing VEGA and Vanilla, pretty much the only guys that really contested 4 and 5. So I wonder if these two players are going to be the ones that we keep our eyes on.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, World, again, he's continuing to show pretty strong showing so far, but can he keep that up through and through? We'll watch as he selects his next track.
I feel like Cool and NEAL are definitely on top of their form today, and World as well, of course. Especially Cool because even in the team matches, he was not letting go of the leads at all. He was making sure he's always the runner, staying in the front. So I'm expecting Cool to not really falter today. It's really just a matter of who's going to reach 50 the fastest.
Yeah, and we got to remember, right? Until the Final 8, all that matters is you're in the top 4, right? That you're moving on to the next rounds, that you're getting to the final 8. So quite frankly, sure, NEAL, he didn't get first place in the first track, but he also knows that, okay, if I can always finish second or third, right, just rack up those points enough to make the cutoff when someone reaches 50, it's okay. So NEAL's not going to be too pressured that he didn't get first in one of the tracks. He should be feeling just fine. As we go into the choice from World, it is World Tour Rio de Janeiro.
Off we go into round 2, choice of track by World himself. As we see the players being boosted off in their paragliders, we're seeing Vanilla up in the front with UMaRu. Let's see if they can keep that lead.
Yeah, one interesting thing about UMaRu, this is one of those tracks where he will use the flower carriage cart and switches back over to the old 6062 build. A lot of these players, depending on which cart they're using on which track, they will go back to 6062 and then maybe revert back to 5072. So see if UMaRu can try to redeem himself after that last place finish in the first track.
He sure did with that jump off. He was able to propel from 7th place all the way to 3rd. Now Duzzi and Hall trying to come up and contest. It's really cool in World right now, having that sizable gap in 1-2.
Yeah, they're just trying to, again, have their own little rivalry going on. But UMaRu keeping up in 3rd place, he even pushing into 2nd. He's weaving in back and forth.
Yeah, UMaRu, he wants to try to apply some pressure to Cool, but Cool is still one step ahead of everyone else, and Cool is looking uncontestable at the moment. Duzzi now catching up, and he's going to be the new opponent for UMaRu to deal with.
Oh, UMaRu plays it safe. He was in danger of potentially getting collided a bit too much on those jumps down on the rooftops, so he will just make sure that he can try to stay in the lead, but he doesn't. He actually gets pushed all the way back. He lost so much speed, and meanwhile, it's Cool who finishes in 1st place. UMaRu got pushed all the way back down to 8th.
Yeah, I mean, the rankings were definitely crazy this time around, especially we want to point out World. He won last track and picked this one himself, but he ended in 6th place. So now with Cool picking up 10 points, you know, it's getting dicey, that 1st place spot, who's going to finalize it?
Yeah, I mean, UMaRu, I like that he played it safe as they were jumping down on those canopies, but quite frankly, he lost too much speed. Everyone else was able to keep up their boosts as they land back on the track. Maybe a bigger mishap happened as well, but at the end of the day, a bit of a rough one here for UMaRu. He's now down to -2. Meanwhile, Cool will be shooting forward with 17 points.
Duzzi is tied at 3rd place with NEAL at 10 points, which is about 5 points ahead of Vanilla, who is at 5th place. So we are now looking at Duzzi being the guy that Vanilla, VEGA, Hung, and UMaRu needs to try to catch up to. And realistically right now, it's looking the toughest for UMaRu to be catching up.
Yeah, I mean, UMaRu, you know, see what he can do, see if he can try to bring things back, at least try to contend for 4th place, but trying to break into the top 3 looks pretty tough. I mean, sure, solo matches, anything can happen just because it is about whoever gets to 50 points first.
Yeah, but now we are ready for the track chosen by Cool himself. It is going to be in Village Boom Hill Tunnel. Let's see if he can rack up another win for himself here.
And we are off. Cool. Trying to finish off the solo matches as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, NEAL and Duzzi and World all sitting comfortably with enough points to try to stay in the top 4.
Right now, UMaRu, he's definitely trying to redeem himself being in that 1st place, but NEAL is right on his heels. World coming up as well, and VEGA, he really needs the points. He's in about 6th place right now, 6 points away from 4th.
Yeah, and you can see that UMaRu, his racing on his own is not bad at all, but the thing is, as soon as he starts to get pressured, a lot of his drifts start to maybe drift out a little bit too much. He slides a little bit too far, much wider than he wants, loses a bit extra speed. So we'll see, I mean, if he can keep this up all through this lap here on Boom Hill Tunnel.
Right now, Cool once again in the lead. We know Cool is a scary guy because once he gets the momentum, he doesn't really let go, and we saw the 3rd place player just hitting the walls back and forth, losing a lot of momentum. The gap is widening between 3rd place and 2nd.
Yeah, and NEAL, he got bumped a little bit, but he's still able to land on the railing with his build there, so just trying to keep up in third place. Hong trying to make a run into the top 3, and he actually forces NEAL to have to slow down enough on those 90 degrees. Hong now safely in third place.
Yeah, Hong is coming in really strong right now, trying to shake up the rankings, pushing Cool out of the way, but it's Cool who's still in the lead, and it seems like Cool, he's gonna pass World now as well, and come in first place yet again.
You know what the crazy part is Cool is trying to block Hong, and they both boost on those last 90 degrees, and what happens is Hong actually bumps into Cool as Cool starts his boost, so Cool's actually able to shoot forward on the inner side and just make a straightaway in between those 90 degrees, weave through, and pass by Worlds there towards the finish line.
What can we say? The gods are on Cool's side, we may as well say today so far, because he's already going to be able to rack himself up to a 27-point total, and now the question becomes, do the other players now need to start checking Cool as a group? Because look at the difference. World, he's 9 points ahead. If Cool gets another first place, he's going to be only 13 points away from finishing it off.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's all about that race, you know, for that top 4, right? So sure, Cool seems to be well ahead in the lead. World could try to catch up, but other than that, World and NEAL at 18 and 14 points, somewhat safe. However, you know, Vega at 4, Duzzi at 9, you know, Hong at 8, Vanilla at 8. I mean, it's really anybody's spot here for that 4th spot.
Duzzi, we were talking about him having a nice lead over the rest of the players in maintaining that 4th place, but as you said, Will, now it's really close. Only 1 point separates Duzzi, Hong, Vanilla, so this next track here is already going to make such a huge difference. 2 things we're looking at is Cool going to get first place again, and who among Duzzi, Hong, Vanilla are going to get into the high rankings.
Yeah, I mean, meanwhile, UMaRu does make a bit of improvement, trying to climb back up from the negative scores. Again, I mean, this is his first time making it to the stage of any Kart Rider Universe tournament, so if he can just try to get some points on the board, it'd be a great story. He always has a great start. See if it happens again as we go into the next choice. It's Desert Ancient Aqueducts.
Off we go into the 3rd track now, picked by Cool himself. It's looking really bad for UMaRu. He's once again in the 8th place, so it seems like we're going to have to pay more attention to players like Vanilla and VEGA looking for the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, the thing is VEGA also one of the racers in this group who's constantly been in the forefront in the first half of each race, and then he starts to kind of fall behind because of the pressure. He tries to, you know, maybe aggress a bit too much, or maybe he's just trying to avoid collisions, loses too much speed on his drifts, and he starts to fall further and further behind. I mean, here currently he's only racked up 4 points total.
Yeah, right now it's World NEAL again in the front, but it's VEGA who's able to maintain his lead this time and not make a mistake, causing him to fall behind really far. Vanilla sitting at 5th place right now, keeping Cool behind, which is a new thing.
Yeah, and here's the thing, VEGA, he needs to start to understand that, yes, first place would be good, but right now I just need to continue to rack up points ahead of the other members who are contending for 4th place. He needs to just get into that range before the race finishes. UMaRu bumps the corner just a bit.
Yeah, UMaRu, he was looking really good, but that bump is definitely going to set him back, and now all the space is there for World, NEAL, and VEGA to be that 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, World with a great straightaway performance, but he gets pushed away. Meanwhile, VEGA and UMaRu, they're trying to make an upset happen here on Ancient Aqueducts.
UMaRu pushing VEGA into the wall to apply more pressure, but Vanilla makes use of that and comes in from the outer, trying to take the first, but now it's VEGA once again. These players are trading back and forth.
Yeah, but this is huge for VEGA and Vanilla. They are 2 of the players that were in contention for potential 4th place, and they are currently well ahead of the other rivals that are trying to get into that position.
It's a VEGA show right now. He's looking to stay in first place, but he does fall behind.
He tries to block a little bit too much. He gets knocked out. Meanwhile, NEAL has been playing it so safe, but look at this. He loses his position as the crowd catches up, and now they've all been pushed back. World somehow gets all the way through. UMaRu, meanwhile, gets a clean 2nd place.
And Duzzi with the 3rd place as well. I like that so far in Group A. We're not having a too one-sided performance so far. It was Cool kind of showing up with that one-sided momentum, but now he was stopped in his tracks, and I wonder how many more rounds we're going to have left after this.
Yeah, a bit of a big shakeup here on Ancient Aqueducts, right? I mean, we didn't have Cool going in to the first 3 at all. Doesn't get a podium finish, so Oh, this is going to be an interesting one. World racking up an extra 10 points, brings it up to 28. Ties with World, who finished so low, he only gets 1 extra point on that one.
Yeah, I mean, so far, there were only 4 players who were able to get first place because we've had 4 rounds, and 2 times it was Cool, 2 times it was World. These 2 players are looking to be the strongest in their groups today so far, but of course, we have players like Duzzi, who is sitting in 4th place right now at 14 points, which is 3 points away from Vanilla in 5th place. It's all about Duzzi versus Vanilla right now for that last ticket.
Yeah, I believe Vega and Vanilla. Oh no, Vanilla actually staying ahead with those 11 points. So right now, Vega continued not really able to rack up any further points for himself. Meanwhile, UMaRu, and Hong, they're still at 6 and 7 points. That 4th place, still anybody's if they just get that first place one of these times.
UMaRu, as you said, he looked like he was too far behind, but because of his stellar performance in round 4, he's definitely bought himself that opportunity. He needs to now rack up his game in consistency, and he may be able to take that 4th place from Duzzi. But first, let's go to track number 5, chosen by World, Glacier Extreme Stadium.
Cool and World tied at 28 points. We've still got a decent ways to go here in the very first group of solo matches in the round of 32.
VEGA being that player once again in the early lead, as you said, Will. And we're looking at Duzzi and UMaRu also catching up with them right now. The bottom 4 players of the total standings are definitely trying to stand up as we move on into the group.
Yeah, this is the unique thing about these solo matches, though, right? Is that you can have the best races, the best times in your own time attack mode, but at the end of the day, you are contesting against 7 other players that are also trying to take you out. If you break under that pressure, if you don't know how to defend yourself from the pressure and the forces coming out from your opponents, you're eventually going to lose that lead.
But so far, that pressure hasn't been applied too much because it's still UMaRu in the lead with VEGA and Duzzi. World, he has been keeping that 2nd place pretty consistently so far. Cool, the new contender for that top 4.
Yeah, Cool. He just wants to make sure he can get back in the lead ahead of World. And he's trying to catch up. Doesn't have to go for any of these extra slices there on the straightaway. Just boost forward to try to make sure he sticks right up against World. And he's doing a good job of it. Stays ahead in boost gauge as well.
Now we're finally seeing NEAL trying to be that contender as well for the top 4, but it's currently World who gets bumped out in all directions.
Yeah, a couple players actually bumping there, drifting out a little bit too far wide. I mean, that was World and NEAL making a crucial mistake, and Cool now able to just stay way ahead in 1st place. Duzzi, VEGA, and Vanilla, they all have a chance to gain a couple more points. NEAL somehow still recovers, is now contending back for a top 4.
Oh, VEGA, he took a nice little boost there. He hit the wall, but that didn't kill his momentum. Now it's all about VEGA versus NEAL for that 4th spot. Vanilla and Duzzi holding on to that 2nd and 3rd. Cool is off in his own world right now.
Yeah, Duzzi, a great turn there, trying to overtake Vanilla. He does so, and he's body blocking everyone on the jump. He's forcing them to have to make errors, but Vanilla will get an extra boost right as they land, and Vanilla will get that 2nd place.
My goodness, Vanilla, he was in 5th place behind Duzzi, but now with Vanilla coming in at 2nd place and Duzzi at 3rd place, you can tell that these 2 players are really keeping up their momentum, being that rival for that 4th place spot.
Wow, well, Cool shooting back forward with another 10 points. That should put him at 38. Fairly close. We've still got minimum 2 more tracks, but that could be it here for the solo matches. And we should note, World, after that crucial mistake, NEAL recovers, but World did not. He finishes at 7th place.
Yeah, right now, the standings, we see it again. NEAL is actually now starting to be in a bit of a hot heel spot because Vanilla is only 3 points away from that 3rd place position. So NEAL has to step up his game or we might actually see him drop from the top 4.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Little signs for all the different players, UMaRu and, of course, Cool earlier as well. I mean, you love to see the support. We'll see if they can do it. Vanilla, he wanted to do the yellow stripes proud, and he's doing his best right now. 18 points on the board, but it's not quite enough for top 4 just yet. He is 1 point shy as Duzzi still holds on to that cutoff line with 19.
It is starting to look like VEGA, UMaRu, and Hong don't really have much of a chance left anymore, especially if Cool continues on his lead. He's already at 3 first place finishes. Let's see if he can pick another one up in World Tour New York Rally. off we go into round number 6 of Group A.
And World just continuing to lead once again. Another one-lapper here, so it's really just going to be about, you know, whenever you get the chance, can you keep up in that boost gauge? Can you make sure you're timing your drafts perfectly as you try to overtake each other on some of these turns?
And right now, Cool once again maintaining a really nice lead. Somebody's got to stop this guy because he's at 38 points, and if he gets another 10 points, it becomes really impossible to buy yourself any more time. Now, World and Duzzi being in that 1-2.
Yeah, Hong with a nice stutter drift there just to try to keep up. While, you know, point-wise, it doesn't look like he has much hope to try to get into the top 4. It would be great to just put his name on the board. Cool bouncing around just a bit, but he is able to recover just enough. Now trying to just keep Hong and Duzzi at bay as well.
You have to keep in mind that Vanilla, who was a big contender for that spot with Duzzi, he's all the way back in 8th place right now, so it'll be a matter of question, can Vanilla recover when there's only a one-lap track?
Yeah, you know, one thing we got to mention is Duzzi is not a player we've mentioned too much, but oftentimes that means maybe they're doing just fine, right? I mean, they're always just getting enough points to stay into that cutoff line of the top 4, and he's trying to do the same here in New York Rally.
We do call that the pension meta, where they try to just stay within relevant points enough to stay top 4. Right now, he's doing that. He was able to win the body checks against World. Now, World does come in with the tighter line. Duzzi again trades back with the line, giving him that 4th place spot.
Oh, and Hong, he's doing whatever he can to try to stop Cool from getting an extra 10 points. Hong, he's trying to boost ahead, but Cool has one as well. He gets the draft as well. He will boost forward, and Hong gets his first place finish as he comes back from that military service.
That was huge for Hong because before in the standings, he was sitting all the way at 8th place overall with only 6 points. So picking up these 10 points is not going to put him in contention for top 4 yet. But for many of these players, especially a returning player like Hong, it's really important for them to get their face up on the board at least.
Yeah, I mean, an incredible run here from Hong to just, again, at least leave an impression, right? Regardless of how things might work out. It's going to be interesting to see how things continue to pan out. That shoots him up to 16 points. He escapes that last place instantly. Meanwhile, UMaRu and VEGA not able to really make any advancements on their own points.
And that was really devastating for Vanilla now because Duzzi, he's able to stay comfortably in that 4th place again. And now with Cool sitting at 1st place with 45 points, he's only 5 points away from ending off the solo match. And that means he just needs to finish 3rd place or higher.
Yeah, I mean, again, he just has to enter the podium, right? So we'll have to see. I mean, quite frankly, I find it hard that Cool wouldn't make a podium finish, right? We've seen that only one track out of the 6 so far, and he takes us to another rough one. It's going to be in the mine theme. It's Mine Rickety Rails for round 7, selected by, it's going to be Hong's first choice. Cool is looking to finish off Group A of the round of 32. If he can just enter the podium, the solo matches will end for the night.
And so far, he's looking to lead, not just be in the podium. Hong, once again, being in that top spot as well. And we have to keep our eyes on him because he did get really close to that 4th place contention with Duzzi.
Yeah, we'll have to see if things swap out just a bit. Right now, Cool's still keeping the lead, but this is a 3-lapper, right? And if everyone's still staying close enough, things could change pretty easily. A couple extra chances, especially in that section I was about to say. Those bumps can happen when you're least expecting them, and UMaRu does lose a lot of his lead there.
Yeah, it's all about Operation Tackle Cool right now. Someone's got to sacrifice their lines to stop him because Cool is unstoppable with getting these 1st place. It's Vanilla right now trying to do that, but he's so busy and caught up in maintaining his own line that he can't even try to bump into Cool.
Yeah, right now it's looking like we might just finish with the top 4 that we already have, which would be including Duzzi, but see if he can keep it safe. Duzzi right now not actually gaining any points for himself, so he could be in danger of someone potentially catching up.
Cool, he's still maintaining 1st place all the way into the 3rd lap, and this is their last chance right now for World and Vanilla to try to make something happen. NEAL also coming up to the top 4 to try to get some lead.
Yeah, if it finishes this way, I think Vanilla might be able to enter the top 4. Duzzi's not going to gain any more points at 7th place, and it looks like he's not really making any headway. Okay, Vanilla shoots up to first place, but meanwhile, Duzzi, we see him in the bottom right screen. He's actually trying to make sure he keeps in the top 4 as well.
But Cool, this guy is unstoppable. He wants that first place finish just for the style points. As we see Vanilla, he is a step behind Cool, and it seems our standings will be finalized.
I think we might have a tie for 4th place.
Yeah.
I think it might be Vanilla and Duzzi tied for 4th. We'll have to wait for the calculations come through and confirm. But first of all, one thing's for sure. Cool wraps up the 50 points here to wrap up Group A in the round of 32, showing once again why he was the ultimate winner of the solo matches in Preseason 1.
We called it earlier, Will. Something about Cool, his form has been so good today. This guy, he is playing that runner position perfectly to the T. As we see the confirmation, Duzzi and Vanilla are tied for 4th. So we do need to have a tiebreak.
Yeah, oh boy, okay, well, Cool. I mean, he's happy with his finish. I think it's no surprise, right? World and NEAL following right afterwards. Sure, NEAL wasn't in the spotlight the entire time, but again, solo matches, it's a marathon, right? You got to get to that final 8. And if you can just do that, I mean, NEAL wasn't ever in any danger of potentially getting knocked out. But meanwhile, we have a nice little special surprise here because we have to have a tiebreaker between Vanilla and Duzzi.
I feel like this might be the first time, at least I've ever seen a solo match tiebreaker, so this is definitely really exciting to be able to witness firsthand. And you can see even Vanilla looking very happy and excited to jump into the match.
I mean, sure, it's, you know, you're happy on one side, but it's also like, man, like this is just unnecessary pressure that I didn't want to have to deal with today. I think that, you know, maybe applies a bit more for Duzzi, right? You know, currently he's still sitting on the roster of ROX Esports, and he's like, man, I gotta prove myself in the round of 32 just to get in the top 4. What a rough group.
Yeah, this definitely has been a rough group if your name isn't Cool, World, or NEAL. And honestly, I feel like Duzzi has been the player for me based on Preseason 1 records of a player that has shown more potential than Vanilla. But Vanilla also, he's had great performances in the qualifiers that led him up to the solo match Group A, so it can go either way.
Yeah, there's UMaRu on the screen. I mean, listen, you know, he had a rough start, but he made a couple good runs on a couple of those tracks, you know, in his first showing on the main stage. Meanwhile, we should mention Duzzi, you know, he's had some reliable performances both in team and solo. However, Vanilla, he finished with only 9 points in the round of 32 in Preseason 1. If he can make it out to round of 16 today, that would be a huge win for him.
Yeah, we're going to see who takes that huge win in Desert Construction Chaos. Ladies and gentlemen, we begin our first tiebreaker of the group solo match of Preseason 2 between Vanilla and Duzzi.
Oh, and Duzzi's just going to be able to keep the lead. It should be noted, Vanilla not running with the balloon on his cart right now, so not going to be able to really gain those extra advantages on the boost. He's just going to have to rely on his own drifts to really stay ahead of Duzzi.
Duzzi has way too big of a lead right now. Vanilla definitely needs to start focusing on how he can improve his line, start reading to be able to catch up to Duzzi, because so far that gap isn't closing.
Yeah, now of course you are going to have a chance here, right? But the thing is this area also so prone to errors. And Vanilla,
no,
what
Vanilla!
a massive mistake, not one that you can easily recover for. I mean, it's not a simple matter of losing speed. You have lost your entire course, and he thought he could course correct himself, so he doesn't even reset instantly. I mean, I think Vanilla's pretty much out of the race.
And now for Duzzi, the best part is you know that all you have to do is keep your line good and not make a single mistake. There's no risk that Duzzi has to take at all, while Vanilla has to take so many risks. They are a complete 5 frames apart.
Yeah, I mean, right now, we don't even see, we have to catch Vanilla on that second screen, and, you know, he's doing whatever he can to try to catch up. And it looks like maybe he'll eventually enter the vision on the mini-map, but even that looks like it's going to be a tough one. The pressure clearly forcing Vanilla to make some of these errors that normally he wouldn't be making on his own.
Yeah, Vanilla, at this point, even if he plays close to perfect, it may not be enough, so he needs to somehow find a way to go above perfect. Maybe hope that Duzzi makes a really big mistake. We saw a glimpse of Vanilla there on the screen, because this is where he can have a chance to catch up.
Yeah, Duzzi just gonna be able to play safe. He's quite aware that he hasn't seen Vanilla in quite some time on the map. So he's just going to play it pretty safe.
That was the toughest part of the track, and Duzzi just goes through it so smoothly at this point. Vanilla, what can you do with Duzzi so far ahead?
Yeah, and Duzzi still has that extra boost as well, so while Vanilla racks up another for himself, it is eventually going to be Duzzi who celebrates with a nice little spin turn to qualify into the round of 16.
Duzzi has been a player for me so far in Preseason 2 that definitely resembles consistency, and he was able to show that off against Vanilla, earning him a spot into the next round of 16 along with Cool, World, and NEAL.
Yeah, darn shame. I mean, Vanilla knows, right? It was just too big of a mistake. Not much he could do to try to recover from that.
Hey, he seems he's fine. He's laughing.
I mean, listen, a much better finish than he had in Preseason 1, right? So overall, career-wise, a massive improvement. He only got 9 points total in the round of 32 in Preseason 1. This time, he was contending for 4th place with 24 points. So again, I don't think it's anything to be ashamed about, but it is unfortunate. He was this close to try to make another career improvement by entering the round of 16, but Duzzi will protect his honor and move on.
Yeah, the pro teams are really showing why they are considered the pro teams, because the players that are assembling these pro teams are so good, and we can see that especially here in the solo matches. Cool for KWANGDONGFREECS, World as well, NEAL for Live Sandbox, Duzzi for SEONGNAMROX. All of these players are players that we've seen so much of in Preseason 1 have great success, and it seems they're looking to do just that in Season 2 as well.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I will say, you know, VEGA, this was his chance to try to get some extra stage time as he sits on the bench for ROX Esports, but wasn't able to prove himself today, oftentimes kind of breaking under that pressure. But what a tough group. I mean, you got 3 members of the final 8 in Preseason 1, and then Duzzi continuing to show up as well. I mean, this was a tough one.
Yeah, definitely not the group you want to start in if you are a rookie player trying to make a name for yourself. And in the case of Hong, UMaRu, Vanilla, and VEGA, they were not able to advance on. So it is pretty sad for them, but I honestly think they did pull their weight, especially VEGA. Despite having a really poor record, he's always been in that top 4, at least through the beginning parts of the races.
Yeah, and you know, for members like Vanilla and UMaRu, they've always been trying to get to an extra stage here in KartRider, now in KDL, and I think we're seeing improvements, right? Hopefully they can keep at it and try to really break into round of 16, round of 8 in the future. And Hong, I mean, he just returned to continue his career from military service. A rough start, but still one where he even got a track win. So maybe he comes back even stronger later in the year.
Yeah, that's a great point, because Cool and World were the 2 players that were really highlighted today, constantly picking up the first place finishes back to back, but Hong was able to put his face up there, so I'm sure that's one that he can feel really proud of, especially because a lot of players put emphasis on, oh, I want to be the one in the top 5 video this week and brag about it to all my pro friends, and even getting your face up there is one of those things you can brag about.
Yeah, I mean, again, that just shows that, okay, you absolutely have the potential, right, to really take over some of these tracks. So maybe, you know, whether he grows in his solo matches or maybe even eventually on a new roster for team matches, we'll have to wait and see. But we've saw some new faces continue to show their efforts, but let's wrap up the day by reviewing how the initial matches happened here in Preseason 2. We started with team matches, kicking things off with ROX versus Showtime.
And this match definitely went a lot closer than we expected. We were like, okay, SEONGNAMROX, they obviously have an advantage here as a team. I mean, they have Chung, right? A player that you adore, Will. They were fortunately able to win in both speed and item, so they didn't have to go to that ace match, which is a pretty big upside for them in Preseason 2.
Yeah, I believe first time for them as a team, right, to get that win without having to rely on the ace match. So props to them. Clearly, the roster shuffle making some improvements. Meanwhile, KWANGDONGFREECS, it does go to that ace match, but they still prove why they were the team match champions of Preseason 1.
Yeah, and World, if we look at just Preseason 2 records, then he's the only player right now who's 1-0 in ace match. Jung, he has 0 matches played there. So he is kind of the king of ace matches right now, and I'm sure every player is looking to take him down.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that shakes up. Meanwhile, the 2 amateur teams we watched today, I mean, curious to see, you know, one of them I think easily could be making the playoffs, the top 4. So we'll have to see. The opening matches were a tough one, right? ROX and KWANGDONGFREECS, not easy matchups, but maybe they can get some wins against some of the other weaker teams.
Yeah, we're seeing the rookies definitely show up big here in Season 2, like Duzzi, for instance. Not exactly a rookie, but a player that you wouldn't necessarily say had the same caliber of performance so far, like NEAL, Cool, and World, which we were looking at the players that were maybe obviously going to move on in Group A, and yeah, that's actually what ended up happening.
Yeah, so Duzzi, you know, he comes into the first team matches of his career last preseason. Now he's trying to continue on in solo matches, proves himself well. And sure, just statistically, Group A looked so tough. However, I mean, Groups B, C, and D, they're no pushovers either.
Yeah, just by looking at the groups, you see names stand out instantly, like Spear in Group B. For Group C, you have Sungbin. In Group D, you have Jung. Every single player here is starting to make a name, their legacy in kart rider drift, and in order to build your own, you have to compete with the other players for that.
Yeah, and here's the thing. In solo matches, sure, we might know some of these names better from team matches, but the solo matches, sometimes we have some nice surprises, right? Because it is, again, an 8-person free-for-all. But ladies and gentlemen, as it goes with KDL, we continue all weekend long, and we will be returning tomorrow with more matches.
Yep, there's Live Sandbox. We want to see what the new Sandbox looks like because they did go through quite a drastic roster change. Versus Sensation, who also had their member Speed transferring over to a different team. They have a new player in Joker, followed by Match 4, Aura versus Seraphic. Aura has been a really strong team in Preseason 1, and Seraphic's going to be a rookie team where we get to see them for the first time in the KDL.
Yeah, I know Aura is a team that after Preseason 1, a lot of people are kind of like, okay, I want to see more Aura, right? Especially in item mode, I want to see what they can do. They showed some really great ideas and really great builds in Preseason 1, of course, because it is the weekend. We continue with Group B of the solo matches as well, with names like Spear, Hojin, and Hero returning as well, and a couple of these other names. See who will make it on to the round of 16.
Yeah, and in case people don't realize who Byung-Soo is Speed from Preseason 1. He changed his name over, and I feel like Byung-Soo was a player that was constantly talked about as one of the players that improved most coming in from the original kart rider into Drift. So it's really a nicely packed matchup in Group B.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, curious to see, because he seemed to be building a pretty good storyline in Preseason 1, see if he can continue to build his career on top of that here for Preseason 2. But a pretty exciting start here for KDL Preseason 2. I mean, notably the item mode as well.
Yeah, item mode has been super great so far, but all right, guys, we are now ready to wrap up our day number 1 of KDL Preseason 2. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and be sure to be ready to check out the next match tomorrow.